What's up, Airsofters? My name is Lane, and in today's video, we're going to be doing another Q&A here on the BB Warrior. In today's video, we're going to be talking about blade triggers, the fad of built-in knee pads, and LARPsoft. So today will surely be a fun video. Now, I just want to say, if you want to get your questions submitted for our Q&A specials, it's very simple. All you got to do is leave a comment down below in the comments of any of the BB Warrior videos, or by sending me a message on either Facebook or Instagram. And before we get the video started, I just want to say, we do have BB Warrior patches in stock. If you'd like to pick one up and help support the growth of the channel and allow me to get better equipment, well, there will be a link down in the description to where you can do that. And thank you guys so much for 2,500 subscribers here on YouTube. It really does mean a lot, and I love seeing the channel grow and all the engagement that you guys are having down in the comments and in the new community tab that YouTube has added. So why don't we dig into our first question of the Q&A. Daniel asks, how often do you do Q&A videos? I'd like to see you do a Q&A every 2 weeks. Well, would you look at that? He asked that 2 weeks ago. So to answer your question, probably every 2 weeks I'll do one of these. I don't want to have it be a staple here on the channel because I know there are other Airsoft YouTubers that Q&A is a big staple of their channel, like Airsoftology, for example. So I don't want to kind of like cut into what they do or try to mimic what they do. I like to do my own thing here on the channel. So probably every 2 weeks or so, maybe 3 weeks, depends really on how many questions I get and how many that I want to feature in these videos. But short answer, 2 to 3 weeks. T-Bone Airsoft asks, what is your opinion on blade triggers, both in a semi-automatic only field and a fully automatic field? So I'm just going to say this outright. I don't like blade triggers. I think that while they still are technically semi-automatic, they're in practicality fully automatic once you get good at walking a trigger. So what a blade trigger is, for those of you who aren't familiar, is most of the time you have to take off your trigger guard for this, but it is an extended flat trigger with a very, very short pull. So what that allows you to do is walk the trigger, and walking the trigger is moving your 2 fingers back like that in a walking motion, which allows you to get a really, really fast rate of fire. And I think that this is more of an issue with a blade trigger than like a flat trigger, because it's harder to do it with your 1 finger than walking the trigger. You can get a much higher speed. And I used to play paintball before I played Airsoft, and this is common practice in paintball. If you ever watch people play speedball, the trigger guards are extended to allow this, and that's a pretty standard part on most paintball guns so that you can walk the trigger as you need. So in Airsoft, in a semi-automatic only environment, I do not think they should be allowed. And I'm not the type of guy that likes, when there's a problem, I don't just say, ban it. I like to try to find a way around it. However, I do not think that these are good for a semi-only field. While you are still in semi-automatic, technically, in all practicality, you're in fully automatic. And especially if you get good at it. I mean, if you have something with a really great trigger response or an HPA gun, you're going to be shooting in full auto. You're probably going to be shooting faster than your gun is full auto at that point. So I really don't like blade triggers for semi-automatic only fields. Now for full auto fields, I think as long as you're in a role that it's allowed to have full auto, I don't necessarily see a problem with it. I think that it could lead to overshooting in some cases, but if you're in a role that allows it, I don't see an issue at that point. The only time I see an issue is if you're at a field where if you shoot over 400, if you have to be semi-automatic, then I could see an issue. But if everyone's allowed full auto, and you're not in one of those special roles like a DMR, I don't see a problem. But overall, I'm not a huge fan of them. It may be because I come from more of a milsim background as a player, but I want to know what you guys think of blade triggers. Make sure to let me know down in the comments below. I would love to hear your guys' opinion on that. Connor asks, I just purchased a new GMP Airsoft gun. What upgrades should I do to it? Thanks. Well, Connor, GMPs are a pretty good gun out of the box. I don't think that they're the best gun, but I think that they have great externals and pretty damn good internals. So the first thing I would suggest on that is a new barrel and a new inner barrel and a new hop-up system. I recommend that for every single gun on the airsofting market except for Crye, because I think that Crye has a pretty good hop-up. I think that they could use a new barrel, but I almost always recommend getting a new hop-up and a new barrel. Now, GMPs are already connected to the Deans, so you don't need to do that. I think beyond that, I wouldn't really touch the gearbox until you see fit. I typically like to err on the side of, if it isn't broken, don't fix it, but I would say possibly a new motor. GMP is kind of that company that's good, but they're not excellent at anything. So I'd suggest getting a new motor, like a Crye 30K or an ASG or whatever your preferred motor is, depending on what you're looking to do. But to kind of summarize it all up, new barrel and hop up and new motor, and you should be good to go on a GMP. They're pretty solid airsoft guns. Trooper asks, BB Warrior, what do you think of events based off of fiction and books, like for reference, 1984? So I'm going to kind of take this into the entirety of LARPsoft, so live action role-playing airsoft. I think that a little bit of backstory and a little bit of LARP is good for any event. Like American Milsim or Milsim West, they have their stories. American Milsim is a second American Civil War. Milsim West is the NATO countries versus Russia after they annexed Crimea. So I think that having a little bit of story is good for every single game that isn't a pickup game. However, I think once you start to get it more heavy into it, I think there's a fine line between making it a fun LARP event and making it a fun airsoft event. I've been to games where the role-playing takes precedent over the airsoft, and that doesn't make it very fun for anyone except for the staff involved. I find that that's another issue that I find with a lot of LARP games, is that there isn't really much fun or as much fun for participants rather than the staff and their buddies. I've been to games where it's all about them having fun, and because for a lot of games there is no consequence for just being that guy and going off and shooting a bunch of people and then respawning, I don't like that. I think that it doesn't harbor a good environment for the player, and I just don't think that they're the most fun events. Now, I want to talk about them. I want to talk about Milsim West again. Milsim West does their Insurgency series, and that's a very, very interesting take on it because Milsim West is obviously a multi-day event. How Milsim West does their Insurgency games is if you're a civilian and you die, like let's say some NATO dude just walks up and poof, you're dead now, you join the Russian team, or the Russian militia. So that when that NATO versus Rus 4 battle happens, the actions of the players are going to directly affect the numbers that they have for that game. I think that is ingenious for their design. However, it is something that would only work for the big multi-day mountain site games that Milsim West can produce. So do I think anyone else could do that type of event? Absolutely not. Brian and Josh over at Milsim West have so much experience in hosting games. I don't think that anyone else could pull that off. And there are good, smaller LARPsoft events. I just think that there is a very fine line that the event hoster has to walk to make sure that it is fun for the participants and that the staff are doing what they need to. Aaron asks, do you know of any affordable pants with built-in knee pads like the Crye Precision Pants? Alright, so this is going to be the last question for the video. There are a couple of alternatives that you have. If you don't want to spend the money for a pair of Crye Precision Pants, and you don't want to go with a knockoff brand like Emerson or Samapo or something like that, you do have options. So you don't have to go with the Crye style pants. You can still use what is known as field pants. So they're typically like your BDU style pants. However, a lot of them have internal inserts for knee pads. So they're not exposed outside like the Crye Precision, so you don't have that look. However, you still have an internal support that is going to provide you coverage. So LBX pants have these, for example. I believe some of the True Spec pants do as well, and those are pretty affordable. There are a lot of companies that have built-in knee pads, but they're not the Crye style. So I hope I'm understanding your question right, and you're just looking for pants with knee pads. If you're looking for something that are kind of like the Crye Precision ones, I know there are some folks out there that will mod your typical BDU pants into a Crye style by adding the pocket. They won't add the stretch material or anything. But those, I believe I've seen a set that you can do yourself. I believe they set just like the pocket for like 20 or 30 bucks or so. You gotta have some sewing skills to do that. But I'm sure for an extra cost, there are plenty of tailor shops that'll do it for you. So if you're looking to have like the Crye style knee pads, but if you have some weird pattern, like if you're trying to do M81, because a pair of M81 Cryes is like $600, I think that would be a viable solution to you. Or just look into good knee pads. The Hatch knee pads are good. The Arc'teryx knee pads are fantastic. They are one of the only external knee pads that I actually enjoy as someone who uses Crye Precision pants. So I really like the ones from Arc'teryx. They're expensive, but they're nice, and the Hatch ones are good. I don't think they're as good, but they're a very, very good alternative to some of the other options out there. If you've ever had to use the other bulky, like, skate park knee pads, that roll down your leg and they're uncomfortable, or they're super tight and you're cutting off circulation. So let me know what you guys run for knee pads, or do you just not care and not run knee pads and you are okay with destroying your knees? Make sure to let me know down in the comments below, guys. But that is going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for staying until the end. If you enjoyed the video and you'd like to see more, well, I'd love to have you join our community by hitting that subscribe button down below as I lose focus. And while you're at it, make sure to hit that bell icon next to it to join our notification squad and get updates when we post new videos every Tuesday and Friday. The goal of the BB Warrior is to help you guys have a better time, both on and off the airsofting field, and I aim to do that with every single video that we publish here. Make sure to check us out on social media. Links will be down in the description below. And as well, make sure to check out BB Warrior patches again. I might have a giveaway coming up, actually. I've got a project that I'm working on that has nothing to do with the channel, but it is about airsoft, so I may have a fun giveaway coming up. Time will tell. Thank you guys so much for staying until the end. This has been Lane doing our second Q&A, and I will see you all next time.